Hello folks, my name is Matthew Peterson. I'm a trainer at Pragmatic Works where we do everything from virtual mentoring, hackathons, on-demand learning, private trainings, and you're at our YouTube channel. So like, subscribe, mainly subscribe to the channel so you can keep up to date of all the new videos that we post out as trainers here at Pragmatic Works. And what I'm going to bring to you in this video is a way to do what is called grouping and binning within your Power BI visualizations. Now this is a great tool, especially for anyone who's new to Power BI and maybe you don't understand how to use DAX calculated columns in order to get some kind of conditional statements to where you can group your categorical values or maybe even your metric values, and you still want to display them in a visualization. So I'm not even going to talk about it anymore. Let's just see this in action with a real use case scenario, and then hopefully you can take this grouping and binning and bring it into your reports that you currently have or some new reports that you might start to build. So let's go over here and take a look at the desktop. So what you see is I have a basic column chart here where I am doing my total sales by the different countries that I have. And so I've brought into this visualization my sales territory country along with my total sales. Now this is great, but what I would like to do is to group these based on the continents that they are coming from. That's just the way that I want to logically group them. Well, I could come over into the data view and I could go and find my sales territory countries, and I could make a conditional column here using an if statement to put them, or a switch statement to put them into their actual continents. However, that's going to add to the data model size. Maybe I'm not familiar with how to make those calculated columns. So let's see how we can do this using the graphical user interface of our desktop application and make this just a little bit of an easier process. So we're going to head back on over to the report, and all I simply have to do is find the field that I want to do a grouping on. So in this case, mine is going to be in my sales territory country, and I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to say, you know what I would like to do? I'd like to make a new group. And when I do that, we're going to get a nice little experience right here. We'll keep this named Sales Territory Country Groups. You know, I might even call this Sales Territory Country. We'll go with continents because that's where I'm going to go with this. And so watch how easy this is. I'm going to say, all right, you know what? The United States and Control Select Canada, that should be a group. So I'm going to group them together. It automatically gives them the name of the fields that I have or the values in that field. But I'm going to just change this over to North America. All right, so then I'm going to come over here. We'll do France and Germany. I'll group them. This should be Europe. Oh, but I forgot somebody, right? So look how easy it is to change this around. The UK needs to be over here in Europe. So I'm going to select United Kingdom, select my Europe group. I will hit group, and it now adds them to them. Same thing, if I wanted to take somebody out, I would select it, and then I would hit ungroup. So now we'll do the easiest one, which is Australia. We'll hit group here. And then if you have any, let's just say you have some other values in here that you just want to put in a separate grouping. Well, if we go over to the bottom right and say include other group, anything that we have not selected over here would be the other group. So currently I have an NA value because in our sales territory table we have a row that's called NA. There are no internet sales over there, so that's completely all right, but we'll just call this our other group for now, even though we're not going to see it in the visual. So now watch how easy this is. I've got my group set. I'll hit OK. Now notice nothing has changed here because I'm not currently using this group. And I've got a few different ways that I could use this. I could choose to use this group as the new categories of the x-axis. Or I could say, you know what, I want this to be the legend. I want to have some color coding here to see which countries go with which group. It's really how do you want to visualize the data. But I want to show you both and show you how it would look within your report. So let's come on over. I'll first bring it over here into the legend. And as you can see, my United States and my Canada are now showing pink for North America. My Europes are showing in black, and Australia is showing in that teal color. However, maybe that's not the way you wanted to take it. So let's do this. I'll take it out of my legend. I'll take the original sales territory country out, and now I'll bring that group into the axis. And as we can see, we now have our North America, our Australia, and our Europe. No DAX was needed whatsoever in order to get this accomplished. We simply used that grouping. Now that's one way of how to make a group. Let me just show you another quick way of getting this done. I always like to show more than two ways if two ways do exist. So let's go back to the original of just the sales territory countries in here. So I'm going to bring sales territory country in, and you could start the groupings right here. So if I select, let's say, United States, and I control select Canada, if I right click on this, I can now hit I want to group the data. And what this is going to do is going to create another group for me. And as you can see, it automatically adds this into the legend. So I have the US and Canada now in one group, and then everything else is my other. But from here, now if you're going, well, I want to do a little bit more of this grouping, I want to refine that process, I can come over to that new group that was made. And if I right click on it, I can go back and edit that group that was made just on the fly. As you can see, it's going to be that exact same experience that we had from a second ago. So just a different way of how to get the groupings. You pick whichever way makes the most sense to you. Now this groupings were great. That was based on categorical data, but what if you have numerical data, numerical measures that you want to group on? These were just text values. So if we want to group our data based on numerical values, it's not going to be called grouping, it's going to be called binning again. I'm a former math teacher, so this is basically going to be creating like a histogram within the data itself. And so that's going to be called binning, and let me show you how we can get that accomplished. So I have a second page here set up just for this one. And I'm also going to go back into, let me cancel here, over here in binning. As you can see, what I have in this is I have the age of my customers and the total sales. And so we can see the sales aggregated by each individual age. So 40-year-olds, 56,000, 41, 303,000, so on and so forth. Well, what I want to do now is I want to change this around. I want to group based on my ages. So what I'm going to do is going to find that age field, which is in my customer column. And again, here in the data view, if I go to my customer, I have a column called age, and I could do a switch statement or an if statement to make a calculated column here. Again, don't need to do it for this respect. So what I'm going to come over here is find that age. I'm going to right click on it, and then we're going to come down and make a new group. Now, because these are numerical values, it automatically defaults to knowing, hey, these are going to be bins, and it's going to give you some default settings. I always like to look at the default settings of Power BI to see if I like them, and then maybe I don't have to do anything whatsoever. So let's see what the default looks like. So I'm going to come over here, going to hit OK. I've now made this. I'm going to get rid of age. I'm not going to use the legend this time. We'll make it a little bit shorter. Put my age bins in. And notice nothing really changes here. Well, let's see why that was. So I'm going to right click on that grouping. I'm going to come over here to edit the group. And we can see what the default, it says that each bin, each bar, so to speak, in this visualization is going to be set to 1. Well, that's going to be exactly what I had because I was doing all the ages by years. But let's say I want to see my ages broken down for every 5 years of age. So I could set my bin size right here to 5. And once I set that to 5, I'll hit OK. And now, as you can see, we have this based on the 5 years. So we're going to go from, and let me come in here and zoom this in for you. This is going to be from 40 to, and this is the only thing I'm not the biggest fan of, the axis here. We have to know how this is going to work. This is always going to give you the lowest value of your bin. So 40 is the lowest value of this bin in question. And so then if I come on over and I hover over the next bin, this is 45. So what this is saying is that the next bin starts at 45. So my first bin is 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, and that is 5 values for age. So this is how you can set that up. But again, it's not the only thing you can do. You can modify this binning, so to speak, that we have. So let's take a look at a few of those other modifications. So the next thing we can do is I can come back on over here. I'm going to edit this group one more time. And maybe I don't want it to be the bin type. Maybe I don't want it to be the size of the bins. Maybe I want to define how many bins I always want to see. So as this data changes, maybe I only want to see 5 different bin values. And notice that Power BI is going to automatically figure out the sizes or the counts of our bins. So I said I want the number of bins. It's going to say 53. Not what, maybe, let's just take a look at what number of bins bin count of 53 does. So I'll hit OK here. And we can see that it looks kind of similar to what we saw a little bit ago. So if I come on in, this starts at 40, this starts at 41.34. Again, maybe not how I want this to be done. Maybe I want to change that up just a little bit because maybe we don't want to start it at 41.34. It doesn't really mean a lot to us. So I'm going to right click, going to go back to editing the groups. And maybe for the bin count, I want there to be 5 of them. So I'm going to set this to 5. It's going to figure out what the bin size needs to be. And then I'm going to come over here and hit OK. And as I do that, now we have some new values. So this is going to start at 40. This one starts at 54.2. But again, it's doing exactly what I want here. So we've technically gotten it all accomplished of how we know how to set up grouping and binning. But let me show you something you can do, because a lot of people, when I show this, when I do my virtual mentoring and I show them like, hey, let's just do some binning on this, let your visual speak a little bit differently. They go, I like it, but that x-axis is throwing everything off. It doesn't make much sense. They have to hover over the tooltip to figure out the lowest value. Matt, can we get that fixed in a different fashion? And we definitely can. And this is how we're going to wrap up this video here. So what I'm going to do is select my column chart again, going to go to the formatting section. And then in the x-axis, one of the things I can do here is instead of having the type being continuous, I'm going to set this to categorical, and watch how this is going to change my visual. I'm more of a fan of this because now it's going to give me the lowest values for every bin underneath. So when I come over to here, this gives me the lowest value of 54.2. This gives me the lowest value of 40, so 68.4, and 82.6. And then we can change the sort order if we wanted to there to get them to appropriately align in the correct fashion. Currently this is sorting by the values, but you know what? Let me not just say we can. I always like to show how we can get that done. So what I'm going to do is come over here, hit my ellipses, and I'm going to sort by, not by total sales, but I want to sort by the age. And now we can see this is being sorted in descending fashion, but maybe I want to see this sorted in ascending fashion. So I see my lowest age range first, moving all the way up to my highest age range. I can figure out now that in that 54-ish category there, that's where we're making the most sales. So that is how we can use grouping and binning. No DAX necessary. It's all right here in the user interface. Hopefully this is a nice tip and trick that you can start to use. Again, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can be kept up to date on all the videos we post, whether they're Power BI, Power Apps, Azure, SQL. We do a lot of it. I hope you enjoyed the channel. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll hopefully see you in another one.